Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I got a song for you guys today. This is a song that was written by Uriah Heep for the Abominog album, and it is called Sell Your Soul. And we're not going to actually sell our soul. Just don't worry. Buckle in. We got a good song. Here it is. So this is very rock ominous. I love the sound of it. I love the feel of it. I kind of felt like this is where the last song was going when we had that keyboard intro. But yeah, it's got some really creepy overtones. Love the vocals in the back. They're just kind of adding a little bit of oomph to the whole thing. But definitely starting out pretty intense. I would say this could easily be, like a soundtrack type song, based on just what we've heard so far. And but it sounds really good and powerful. It does sound a little bit tinny though, doesn't it? Don't the drums seem to have like a lot of high end EQ or something on them where they really sound kind of out of place for the rest of the album, but that might just be for the intro. We'll see as the song continues. Well, that went in a completely different direction, didn't it? Really cool transition, though. Just kicked right in and really took off. Some great playing from Mick there. Yeah, the drums do really have kind of a high-end EQ on it. And when I say high-end, I'm not talking about high-end quality. I'm talking about high-end of the equalizer spectrum. Really, really up in that register for some reason. It sounds like the reverb is too, definitely on the snare, maybe more so than the rest. But even with the bass coming in and adding a little bit of low end to this part, doesn't really seem to balance that out quite enough, does it? But the riff is cool. I love the solo work there, and we'll just see where it goes. I really like that keyboard part. It's interesting. It adds a really nice frequency to the song, but it's not so overpowering. In fact, you can't even exactly tell what it's doing, or at least I can't. But there's enough of it there to get a sense of it, and that's what's really nice. It's not too prominent. That snare is really bothering me, though. I don't know why this song would have had any kind of different mix from the others, unless it was just done on a different day. I don't know. That's really weird. It could be something else somewhere in the instrumentation that's carved a space for that snare to cut through a little bit more, but it's got a really, really high frequency. And that's kind of odd. But, the rest of the song is good. It's great playing. Just because I don't like a sound doesn't mean I don't appreciate the performance. I think Lee's killing it. Really good, powerful song. I love the backing vocals. I love how the vocals sound on this song. It's really nice and powerful. Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I really like that beat that felt like they skipped. That's a kind of almost like the beginning of rock and roll from Led Zeppelin. But that was kind of a nice surprise, unexpected. I love the slowdown there at the end of this part that we heard. I love what the backing vocals are doing. I just think the mix is really off on this song. I think that the backing vocals and some of the instruments are just drowning Peter Goalby out during those chorus parts. I like what he's singing, but it seems like he's singing very straightforward. Not a lot of inflections, just pretty much, here's my tone for this song. And which just maybe is more noticeable because we're just coming off of an album where we had a singer who was maybe even over singing a little bit on some of the songs. So we go from a lot of tone and personality to, I'm going to sing these lyrics very straightforward, which again, 1982, a lot of stuff was done that way. And this is certainly not off from the sound of that time. Listening to it now and listening to it in order, it feels a little bit weird, but putting myself in 1982, it's pretty much on par for that time. So I wouldn't condemn him for it, but the mix I think is a little bit off on this song. That's the thing that's holding me back. But it's a very powerful song. I can't wait to see where this change is going as we slow down the tempo. Mick is on fire on this song. I love the little things that he's putting in there to fill up spots a little bit and define the sound of the band again with guitar-driven rock and roll. So it's definitely a song that I think fits their new style very well. I think they're really on point. That was cool. I really like that. I love just that they went back to that gothic sound from the beginning. I think it sounds so powerful with the vocals in the background being that way. I was trying to figure out what this reminded me of. There was a song off of Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith called Round and Round. And at the end, it's kind of similar to this, where it just has that dun, 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 and then just that guitar note or chord that comes in. But it's really cool. It's a very powerful sound. It's really enjoyable. It's something that you can just keep building on. And even when you're getting towards, the top of the register of what you can play on the instrument, you can drop it down an octave, do it in a different key, all kinds of things that you can do. But it sounds very powerful. Yeah, I really like this. It's definitely different for the band. Feels very soundtracky for sure, but a very powerful song. Yeah, again, I think this song really suffers from just a poor mix. I think that that guitar solo was really buried there. I'm pretty sure there's a rhythm guitar track playing as well, but I think the sound of the guitar is just lost. I think they should pan it back to the other side where it used to be, and it's going to stand out a little bit more from the rhythm guitar, the keyboards. Everything seems to be more centered than it used to be, and that's definitely a problem. If all the sounds are coming from the same place, they don't really have their own spot. They just fight for sound spot in your ear, the spot in your ears with other sounds. So that does make it a little bit difficult to hear, and probably why the song is so muddy. So I would probably have maybe panned it a little bit differently, probably adjusted some volumes after that as well, but definitely panned it differently to give every voice its own space to be heard. And right now I feel like everything's just kind of on top of each other. But what I could hear of the solo, I really liked. It was short, but listen to what Mick's playing. If you can hear it, listen to what he's playing along with the vocals, because he's kind of following the vocal line, and that really works for this song. Yeah, everything's pretty much panned to the center, and that's really weird. I'll have to go back and check if the rest of the album was like that, and I just didn't notice. But that and the drum frequency, yeah, is really tough. I like that we're going to hit another slowing down part. That's kind of cool. Be curious to see what happens next. But yeah, there's some great playing on this song. If you can really separate it out, if you're able to identify the sounds, they are really rocking it. The bass guitar is particularly interesting during this section too, because what I've noticed, and I've heard this in other spots too, and again, I've said that the bass is a little bit lower in volume on this album, but it sounds like Bob Daisley doesn't really lift his fingers off of the string and then move them and press them down as much as he just moves his hand across the string to where he needs to hit the next note. And that really causes what you could hear in this section as just a slide from one note to another. Now, I'm not talking about slide guitar. That's a completely different thing. I'm just talking about not lifting your finger off the string and just moving it to where you go. So you actually hear the sound of the distance of that note being covered. So it's really interesting, and it works really well for that part. I think it adds a nice dimension to it, and it's in the low register, so that thickens it up a little bit too. I really like when bands do that, when they give a little bit of room for each instrument to shine through on its own. I think that's really nice. I like what I heard there, but I have to say that keyboard was really weird. It just kind of brought the mood down really fast. And then that reconnection to the tempo was fantastic. The way that they brought that part together, I really like that. I think that was one of the best transitions I've heard Heep do, to be honest. And it was very powerful, but you got to find a way. If you're going to bring the tempo down like that, and you're going to do something that kind of breaks up, and you have to find a way to get people back into the song again. That was a way to do it. Man, that transition kicked ass. I have to say Mick really owns this song. He takes such control over it and plays so masterfully on it. This is definitely one that he dominates for sure, and in an absolutely fantastic way. I mean, the solos were great. You could hear a little more of it, at the end, as the other instruments were fading out, you could kind of hear the guitar cut through a little bit better. But some fantastic performances really from everybody. Very powerful song. I just think that the mix could have been a little bit better, could have helped things stand out a little more. But as I'm looking at the audio, as I see it on my screen, it's not brick wall limited, but it has that brick wall feel to it or look to it because everything is panned pretty much towards the center. So all your sounds are in one place and they're just going to peak where they're going to peak. And so you get a similar effect, but you're not losing the dynamics because of the brick wall limiting. You're just losing it because everything's panned. The keyboards and guitars at times are playing similar frequencies, so they mix together a little bit since they're really not separated out in the left-right ear feel, stereo field, I should say. But apart from that, the performances are amazing. I really wish, or maybe there's another version out there that I can find that has a better mix, but this song is fantastic, and it's a really powerful one, and it really defines this band as a rock and roll band, no doubt about it. But that was the show, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this song as much as I did. And, I always say when I criticize something, that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't enjoy what I'm hearing. There's two different components. There's the mix of the song, and then there's the performance of the song. And in this case, I think the performance is amazing. I just don't think we get to hear it well enough. And, again, it's just me, my audio engineer ears. I realized, I just turned 49. So I have been an audio engineer for right about 30 years now, because I started my first gigs when I turned 19. I had moved up to Denver, Colorado. My buddy Travis hooked me up with a guy named Brian Coe, who was the engineer that I learned from, and did a lot of gigs with that guy. We're still in touch to this day. Awesome dude, and learned so much from that guy. And I still don't feel that I'm anywhere near his skill level. I think I got okay as an engineer, but I don't think I'm anywhere near where he's at. But in any case, 30 years as an engineer is the experience that I'm bringing to the table when I talk about the mix. And also, though, take into account the particular studio headphones I'm using, the particular audio card, or not card, audio interface that I'm using. They used to be audio cards. See, now I'm talking like I'm old already. This is not good. But the audio interface that I'm using is going to color the sound to some extent. The headphones that I'm using is going to color it to some extent. The DAW, or digital audio workstation, that I use to do the show, which is Cakewalk by BandLab, that also is going to have an effect on the sound. But as I listen to the song, I'm actually listening through Windows Media Player. I take the CD, I rip it onto the hard drive so that I can start and stop it and go back a little easier than I could on a physical CD, because rewinding and all that is not usually kind, and you usually end up stopping the song and resetting it to the beginning. And I didn't want to have to fix that a bunch of times. So I figured ripping it to the hard drive and playing it through Media Player. So Media Player is going to have an impact, because that also goes through my computer's audio, sends that to my digital audio interface. See, I remembered it this time. So there's a lot of components that go into it. But here's what I can tell you, is that I'm listening to all the songs on every album exactly the same way. So this one does stand out to me a little bit as the snare sounding a little bit different, as that snare reverb sounding a little bit different, as it sounding a little more high end on the EQ. It does sound to me like it was mixed a little bit differently. I'm also looking at the visual of the audio, and this is, the first song that to me really has that brick wall look, although it's not full brick wall because it's not expanded to reach maximum volume. It's just, fairly even bars because everything's panned so close together. So there's a lot of components that go into what I'm hearing, why I feel the way I do about things, and why I describe them the way that I do. You guys may be listening on Apple AirPods, or is that what they are? The earbuds, Apple AirPods? I think so. Or you might be listening to this on your, your car stereo through your phone, or right from your phone into a pair of earbuds or whatever. And it's going to sound different because we're not all listening exactly the same way. And that really is the real challenge for engineers today, because you can't really mix music for the car. You kind of have to mix it for the earbud. And that does change the game a little bit. But in any case, this song does sound a little bit different. It does have a little bit different of a feel to it, but I really like the song itself. I think the writing is fantastic. I think the performances are killer. I think it's just a great, powerful rock song. And I'm glad I get to review it because I really like it. And I hope you guys did too. So have a wonderful day. What is it? It's Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Go do something good for yourself and do something good for someone else. It just takes a moment, really, to put a smile on someone's face. So we should be doing more of that, especially nowadays, because you know what? We need it. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!